What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my horror corner. I'm Drop Dead Fred. Hope you're all doing well, having a most excellent whatever time of day it is, and Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons.
So recently I got into playing Dungeons and Dragons for the very first time in my life, and I am absolutely loving it. And I want to go ahead and give a shout out to my DMs Ash and Aaron, who have been most helpful, as well as the other people on the Discord server. Thank you guys all so much for just having open arms and inviting me into this freaking amazing world. And do you play Dungeons and Dragons? Let me know. But anyways, this led me onto a fantasy action movie binge where I just want, okay, now that I play D&D, I can't play right now. What do? Let's fucking watch some fantasy movies, dude. Today we are looking at Dragon Slayer that came out in 1981 and directed by Matthew Robbins, who was a writer on Mimic, Batteries Not Included, and Crimson Peak, as well as a bunch of other movies. But we have I don't know if I say this name right. Peter McNicol? I don't know. He plays Galen in the movie. He's actually in Ghostbusters too. When I was watching this, I was like, man, this guy looks so freaking familiar. We have Caitlin Clark, who plays Valerian. I love the names in these movies too. Galen, Valerian, Tyrion, Ulrich. Anyways, she plays Valerian, who is pretending to be a boy. We have Ralph Richardson, who plays the old sorcerer Ulrich. And then we have, last but not least, John Hallam, who plays Tyrion, who is just this bad-ass dude you just love to hate in this freaking movie. He was in, I looked it up. He was in that Flash Gordon, I believe, the movie. And he was in Robin Hood, the one with Kevin Costner. And I believe he was in The Wicker Man. And the story in itself is pretty simple. We have this little kingdom. I'm not entirely sure what the name is. But we have a king who has made a pact with an old-ass dragon, all right? Super old, fucking pissed-off dragon. And basically the deal is, hey, during the equinox, you're going to bring me 2 virgins, and I'm going to go ahead and eat them. And I will leave you all the hell alone. And this is where the story picks up, because it basically starts right off the bat. You have this old sorcerer dude. He has a vision. Like, right after the credits, they show him. He's got, like, a vision of basically what's to come. And you have Valerian shows up. And because this is a female, but we don't know that yet, so he's basically coming up to Ulrich and he needs his help. Also, the reason why Valerian is posing as a boy is because, hey, they want virgins for this sacrifice to the dragon, so all her life she was raised as a boy so she wouldn't be sacrificed. Damn, that's smart. But yeah, they basically come to the wizard and they're like, hey, dude, you need to help us out. And at first he's a little, I don't know. And they kind of call him out, and they're like, hey, what are you, scared? And he's like, scared? Hell no, dude. What the fuck? Pfft, get out of here. If it wasn't for sorcerers, there wouldn't be any dragons at all. Back the fuck up. But no, he ends up taking the challenge, and he ends up pulling some freaking Obi-Wan Kenobi shit right here, because right before they're about to take off on the adventure, big badass freaking Tyrion has to come and just ruin the freaking show, just straight up shit on the party, and his job is to basically stop Valerian from getting the sorcerer, from stopping the dragon, because, hey, if it's, what's the saying? If it's broke, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But yeah, the king, he doesn't want to disturb the king's plans. So he proposes, hey, well, let's find out if you're really worthy. Show me a test. And freaking Ulrich has the guy stab him, and he kills him. And then they burn his, and I remember watching this the first time, like, what the fuck? But no, like I said, it is some Obi-Wan Kenobi shit, because later on, they get his ashes, and they put his ashes in this lake of fire, basically resurrecting him just enough to kill the dragon in this epic freaking battle at the end. And yeah, that was a spoiler. Sorry about that. But no, this was such a cool, freaking beautiful looking movie with some amazing fucking effects. The dragon, okay? The freaking dragon is insane in this movie. Absolutely love the design. Even George R.R. Martin has said this is probably one of the best, if not best looking dragons ever freaking made on TV. And it's got the fucking coolest name ever. I'm gonna butcher it, but it's like Vermithrax pejorative. I don't know, something like that. It's so freaking cool.
Oh, I know this creature of yours. Vermithrax pejorative.
The music is top notch. Now, it was composer Alex North who did music for 2001 Space Odyssey, and a lot of the music they use in this movie is unused music for that. I thought that was freaking awesome. Also, the set designs were just beautiful. The locations, like it was somewhere in like Wales or something like that. I could be wrong. I'm sorry, I didn't write it down in my notes. I did look it up, but it was somewhere around that area of the globe, and it was just absolutely beautiful. It was very lighthearted, but also dark in like the subject matters, because this is like a very gritty looking medieval time. This isn't like, you know, knights in shining armor and you know that type of aesthetic. No, this is like a very just grimy, just like real looking medieval time. I absolutely enjoyed it. The fucking like the fact that they have like this sacrifice going on is insane. The whole ritual itself is crazy. And the king's daughter is like all pissed off because she's not being included in the freaking lottery, is what they call it, I believe. And she ends up like being on there willingly wants to be eaten by the dragon, and she's just so brainwashed. It's just absolutely crazy. If like, imagine if dragons were real, but not even if dragons were real, like things were like this back in the day. It's fucking insane. All right, next is a movie that I was recommended, I believe, on Twitter when I was asking about, you know, Dungeons and Dragons type of movies, and somebody went and said Stalker 2, and I was like, don't I need to watch the first one? No, you do not. You do not need to watch the first movie to get what the hell's going on in this movie, because one, it's a different actor still playing the Deathstalker character. Two, the first movie, it just feels completely different in tone versus this movie. This movie is absolutely ridiculous, bonkers, over the top, comedic, funny, charming. It knows what it is. It knows it's a freaking B horror or B-made sword and freaking sorcery type of movie, and it has so much fun with it. This is one of Roger Corman's sword and sorcery produced movies. The others being The Barbarian Queen, The Warrior and the Sorceress, and the first Deathstalker movie, with this one as well. And the original script of this movie was a lot more serious, and they wanted it to be like Conan the Barbarian, and Roger Corman was like talking to the director, and the director was like, nah, I think I'm gonna change it up, and Roger was completely fine with it, and he was okay with his whole entire movie. The movie stars John Terlesky as Stalker for short, or Deathstalker. We have Monique Gabrielle, who plays Rena the Seer, or Princess Evie, or the evil princess, because she plays like two roles in this movie. We have John Lazar, who plays Drock the Sorcerer, swordsman. Badass dude. We have Tony Naples as Sultana, who was a badass swords fighter in this freaking movie. She was like Jirok's like right hand sword. She was kicking fucking ass. She gets killed in the movie and then gets resurrected. It's badass. Followed up with a very weird and prone to seizures sex scene. There's like a lot of flashing lights. It's so weird. By the way, both Deathstalker 1 and 2 have like awkward sex scenes in them. And then we have Maria Sokas, who plays the Amazon Queen. The opener is so silly because I didn't know what I was getting into. And it opens up with Stalker in this like cave, and he's like stealing something. He's trying to steal something and he's getting away. And then you have Sultana, and she's like, don't worry, I'll have my revenge in Deathstalker 2.
I'll have my revenge and Deathstalker 2.
And then you just get a title card, and you're just like, what am I watching? And I watched the first movie, and they're just nothing to do with each other. It's so ridiculous, but I loved it so much. This movie has like a genuine charm to it, and that is solely due for the main character, Deathstalker. So anyways, the story follows Deathstalker. One day he happens to come across Rena the Seer, who is being like beaten up by the guards. He just got kicked out of the castle. And he says some messed up shit too. He's like, you know, normally I wouldn't mind seeing a girl getting her ass beat, but this doesn't seem fair. What the fuck, bro? No chill, dude. No chill. But anyways, he ends up saving Rena, and she tells him that, hey, I'm a seer. Let me tell you your future. I'm gonna read this crystal ball that looks like a doorknob. And she tells him, hey, you know, I see a quest in your future. There's a princess, she needs help. There's an evil sorcerer, and she's low-key lying to him. Like, she's not really a seer. She's just telling him what's happening to her in this format so he would help. And she's like, says, oh, you're gonna be rewarded, you know, you have to go to this city. So he's like, fuck it, let's roll. And the movie sets off, and it's literally like a non-stop fun movie from beginning to end, from the opening all the way to the freaking end of the movie. It's just like non-stop silliness and fun and charm. And like I said, a lot of that's due to the main character, Gabrielle, what's her name? Monique Gabrielle. She did a fine job playing two different characters. She plays like this silly, I don't know, she just plays like this silly little character, and it's so comedic. And then she plays like this evil, sexy, like princess character. Also, the villain in this movie, Jirok, he was cool, man. I really like this guy. He was a badass swordsman as well. And a lot of the sword fights between the Stalker and Jirok were all done by themselves. And it's a freaking cool fight at the end. They're kicking fucking ass, taking names. But no, the performance of John Turleski here, man, and his character, Stalker, like, in this movie, he really plays that perfect archetype of a scoundrel with a heart of gold, you know, because he says that he's a thief. She's like, oh, so what? You're like, you steal from the rich and give to the needy? He's like, nah, more like I steal from the rich and just keep it myself. But, you know, he does have a heart. Like, he helps her out a couple times. He goes and rescues her when he doesn't necessarily have to. And I really enjoyed that character. The theme song is so cool. It's freaking been stuck in my head ever since I watched this movie, but I absolutely love that cheap synthesizer theme song. This movie's got freaking zombies in it. It's got everything you would want. Honestly, it's got freaking awesome fight scenes. It's got magic. It's got zombies. It's got like that horror aspect. You got monsters like these pig-looking things. Like, it's got the 3 B's.
We believe in blood, in breasts, and in beasts.
I watched the movie called Stalker 2, and I did not take it serious. Now, initially, I had planned just to do these 2 movies, Dragon Slayer and Stalker 2. But just the other day, I watched this movie called Mazes and Monsters, starring Tom Hanks in his first leading role. And, man, this is a freaking sad movie. Okay, it's one of those TV made-for movies. It came out in 1982. All right, so the movie stars Tom Hanks as Robbie. We have Wendy Crewson as Kate, David Wysocki as Daniel, and Chris. And you know what? I can't really say this last name, but this Chris guy as JJ. And this movie was not at all what I was expecting. Okay,
Well, that's kind of far out.
Mazes and Monsters is a far-out game.
Mazes and Monsters, apparently it's based off a novel, which is based off of an incident that happened in 1979, I believe. There was a kid who had went missing, and they hired a PI to do some investigative work, and he just came to the blunt conclusion that, oh, his disappearance is D&D related. They were playing the game in the sewers, and he got injured and died or something down there. And like, he straight up claimed that conclusion to the newspapers and everything. Come to find out later on that this kid he ended up dying later on, but that's not what happened. So it's fucking stupid people, man. Oh, and this was also made during that whole satanic panic phase in the 80s and stuff like that, where people were just blaming certain shit for like Satanism, and D&D definitely was the freaking highlight of that.
There's 6s involved in the pieces of the game, but they'd take the pieces of the game, they would throw them in the incinerator or the fireplace, and screams would come out.
So anyways, the movie opens up with what seems to be the aftermath of some incident at these caverns. There's like police, there's a reporter, and like the reporter's talking to the cop, trying to figure out what's happening, and the cops is like, yeah, apparently some kids were playing Mazes and Monsters, and the game got too far, and you know, somebody's missing now. And the reporter's just doing his thing, and all of a sudden we get a cut to what is some of the cheesiest freaking 70s love songs I've ever heard. Oh my lord. Whenever our lives met. But it's there. We get a 6 months earlier, and we get introduced to our 4 characters here. And I really enjoyed this introduction because it goes through each one of them with like their parent or parents, and you get like an insight of what they're like and what they're going through and everything. And of course, and Robbie's parents are probably like one of the most messed up ones, because the mom's always drunk and the dad's just bitter and hateful and shit. It's just sucks. The movie straight up puts D&D in such a bad light. It's crazy. it also deals with mental health, you know, schizophrenia and like suicide, depression, which I thought I was gonna watch a movie of Tom Hanks playing Dungeons and Dragons, and holy hell, what did I watch? Anyways, we get these 4 friends. They're in college. Robbie is brand new, and he's in the lunchroom when he happens to see a flyer there for people advertising for a 4th player for their for their Mazes and Monsters game. And we meet JJ. He introduces himself, but Robbie's just, his parents told him in the car, do not play that game anymore, because I guess he had a little problem. Again, they're making this game seem so bad, it's crazy. It is addictive. So yeah, he basically rejects JJ. He's like, oh no, you know, I can't, I really can't, you know. He gets invited to a party. He's like, well, just come to my party, you know, whatever.
Game called Mazes and Monsters, a little too much.
You're kidding. What level?
Who also happens to be friends with JJ and Daniel, and they all have that's their D&D group. And as soon as she finds out he plays, she's like, oh, you know, she's super interested, and he's like, you know, come play with us. And of course he's down. Of course he's down all of a sudden.
Well, if you're gonna be there, I guess I'll have to give it a shot.
And here we get a little intro of they're all sitting around the table about to play Dungeons and Dragons, and they put their little figurines up. I really enjoyed this part. You know, they're all saying their names. His name is Purdue or something like that, Pardue. And you have like Frelick, and I don't remember the other ones. But it cuts into this little montage right a little bit after that, because he ends up bumping into Kate at the library, and the montage is basically them playing D&D and him and Kate becoming closer.
Remember, we are all special.
You know, Robbie has become really close with Kate, and they've formed a really close connection. They're going out. Robbie tells her about what happened with his brother, his older brother, who on Halloween night snuck out and ran away. And right before he did that, he went into Robbie's room and was like, hey, I need all the money you got. I'm going to New York, but I'm going to keep in touch. Never kept in touch. This is apparently the root of all of Robbie's issues right here and there. It must have been not getting that closure from his brother, because this is what sets off everything else going forward. So anyways, we get this scene with JJ, and we kind of find out that he's actually suicidal. And like, yeah, it's getting serious. I know. It's getting, oh man. So anyways, he's like trying to figure out, where am I going to kill myself? He's like, oh, the caverns, you know. So he ends up going to the caverns, and he's like kind of just looking around to see, I guess, where he's going to do it. And he's got like this brilliant idea all of a sudden. So he doesn't do that. He doesn't end up going with that decision. The next D&D session they have, he does something incredibly like just dumb in the game and gets himself killed.
It's a trap.
No, into the pit without using your sonar.
And he's like, hey, I propose we try something new. And essentially what he's proposing is LARPing, live action role playing. He's like saying, you know, nobody's ever done this before, but why don't we go play D&D in the caverns? And it's actually really cool what they do. Dangerous, but really cool. You know, they dress up. JJ, he actually is a dungeon master, and he went in the caverns and set up a bunch of different stuff. But this is where we have the first instance that, okay, something might be wrong with Robbie. So in the caverns, they're doing some quest or something, and they all split up. And Robbie's by himself, and all of a sudden, he just sees a freaking monster coming at him, like some straight up monster.
Whoa, look at that monster coming towards us, you know, barreling towards us.
And he starts yelling, like, not like, help. He is like yelling and like just absolutely in fear and terrified. Like, you can hear it in Tom Hanks. He is just letting it out. He is terrified because in his mind, he legitimately sees the monster. And that's it. That was like the beginning of everything. Something triggered in his head, because from this point on, he like doesn't drop character. And they're like, this is the first sign of that is when they're leaving the cavern or whatever, and he's just like, I don't understand. Why would I go straight for my knife and stab someone? I'm a holy man. I should not do these things. And then when they get home, when they get to the college, they're all being dropped off. Freaking Tom Hanks like turns around to all his friends and they're just like, bless you all or something. He like raises his hands and they're just like, dude, stop, relax. And he has his first vision, like a dream. Some guy at the end of a tunnel, basically telling him first he needs to be celibate. Okay, he can't have any distraction in his life. So he cuts ties with his girlfriend just straight up. And she is devastated. It's like, what? And he's just like, yeah, no, it's not you. It's me. You know, it's me. Don't, you know, I still love you. I just can't touch you. It's fucking messed up. I was just sitting there like, oh my, what is happening? This is freaking crazy. I was not expecting this much emotional stuff from a movie called Mazes and Monsters about Dungeons and Dragons. But yeah, he's straight up like, yeah, I gotta leave you. I can't touch you. It's not you, it's me. And then at a Halloween party, he's there and he's just very depressed. And he just walks away and he like goes, as he walks out the door and he just like does some hand stuff to the door, like, you know, goodbye. And he goes home and sleeps, and he has his last vision where the guy in the end of the tunnel is basically telling me, you need to go and find the 2 towers in the city, something like that. From this point on, he goes MIA. He's completely gone. Just nobody can find him. His friends think, oh crap, he's actually he probably went to the caverns and he's like role playing in there, and they assume that he got hurt in there and they can't find him. But they don't want to tell the cops because, of course, they don't want to get in trouble. So what do? They cover up the evidence. They take all the game stuff out of the cavern and they go to the cops. And they're just like, yeah, we heard that people might be playing D&D out there. Maybe Robbie went out there. And we're at the very beginning of the movie, how it started off with the, you know, everybody, all this like aftermath of the search party in the caverns. You know, they can't find him. And ultimately, they end up figuring it out that, okay, he went to New York because of the story that he told his girlfriend about his brother and all this stuff running away. So they end up figuring that out. And the next scene we have here is we finally get, like, because we have like 10 minutes without Robbie. 10, 15 minutes of screen time without Tom Hanks or something like that. And now we're at Tom Hanks. And he is just mindlessly walking the streets of New York at night. Like, he just looks like he is completely out of it, and he ends up getting mugged.
What is that? Give me that.
It's my spells. I guard them with my life.
No! By these 2 like punk looking dudes, and they chase him, and he comes to a dead end, and he like pulls out like something out of his little pouch, like it's gonna actually do something. But no, he's actually seen these punks, these guys, as monsters. So here we go, another delusion. And in self-defense, that's fine, you know, you're defending yourself, they're trying to freaking steal from you, but he ends up like stabbing one of them and, you know, basically killing him. And he runs away and finds a phone booth, and he like snaps out of it. This is probably the most scariest part. Like, this part was frightening. He snaps out of whatever's happening to him. He makes a phone call to Kate.
There's blood on my knife!
Knife? What happened?
It's on my hands! I think I killed somebody. I know I killed somebody.
I was watching this and I was like, oh man, this is getting too intense for me. I was super high too. And Kate's like, you know what? I'm going to give you an address. Go there and just wait there for us. We're going to come get you as soon as we can. And he tries to make his way to the address, but he just starts having like some PTSD, starts like freaking out, dude. It was freaking effective. But he ends up making his way down to the train station, and he goes through the tunnels of the trains, and he comes across a homeless man. And it's at this point where just, it's gone. He is done, and he's just not there no more. He's like, he comes across him, and he's like, hey, I'm a holy man. And the homeless dude's just like, yeah, and I'm the king of France. And the fool like bows, like straight up just gets on his knee and bows. He's like, my lord. And the homeless man's just like, the fuck? And he's like, hey, you know what's going on with the dragon? It keeps roaring. And he's talking about the train just going up and down the tracks. It was sad. This is the part where it's just, oh man. But anyways, he's talking to this dude, and he's like, do you know anything about the two towers? And it's obvious reference to the Twin Towers. By this point, they kind of figure out, his friends, like, oh, the 2 towers must mean the Twin Towers. They end up going to the World Trade Center. They finally find Robbie there. He's all the way at the very top, and he's about to jump off. He's literally about to jump off, and they have to like talk to him as they're still playing the game. So JJ's like, oh, I am the maze master. You know, you can't do this. You can't fly, because Robbie's talking about using a flying potion or something. And he's like, oh, he comes so close to doing it, but it's so sad. And JJ's talking to him as if they're in the game, you know, like they're part of the game.
I have absolute authority in this game.
Game?
JJ, what am I doing here? Why can't I remember?
we get it 3 months later, and they go to his home estate. His mom's like, yeah, you know, he's in the back. Go ahead. And she's acting normal. She's acting like everything's fine. Like, yeah, go visit him. And so they're like, they see him sitting down by the lake, and they're like, hey, Robbie, what's up? You know, how you doing? And he just immediately starts talking like as if he's still in the game. And he refers to them as their character names. And he is just damaged. Like, he is just stuck in that state of mind from there on out. And he talks about how his house, his mom's house that he's staying in, is an inn. And that he's able to afford living there every day because he's got a magic coin. And that every morning he wakes up, the magic coin reappears in his pouch. And they're just listening to this, and they're just, you could see it on their face, and they're just like, oh no, dude. And then he basically like offers to, like, you know, there's like some trees over there, a little mini forest, and he's like, you know, spewing out some content. You know, there's an evil over there. You guys want to go slay it? And they're like, yeah. And all of a sudden you hear a narration going over the scene, and it's from Kate.
And so, we played the game again, for one last time. It didn't matter that there were no maps, or dice, or no monsters. Pardieu saw the monsters. We did not. We saw nothing but the death of hope, and the loss of our friend.
Damn! It was messed up. It was so sad. It caught me off guard. I don't know. Anyways, that's it for now. I'm going to go ahead and shut up. This video is probably way too long already. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit the subscribe button. It would mean a lot. If you join me here in my horror corner while I ramble on. If you're still watching this, I freaking love you. Happy Spookies.